Oh, we start the hour in Libya, where the escalating violence has prompted the United Nations-backed unity government to call for urgent intervention. The Government of National Unity has appealed to the international community to help end the conflict amid warnings of a return to full-scale civil war. However, the UN and the European Union are pushing for a political solution. Our UN correspondent Liling Tan has the details.
Concerns over Libya are increasing on two fronts: the volatile security situation and the continued humanitarian crisis. Within Libya, the UN-backed unity government, the Government of National Accord, or GNA, is calling for urgent international intervention to address the latest escalation in the south, where rival forces have been battling to capture the Teminhant air base. In a letter to the United Nations, the European Union and the Arab League, the head of the GNA, Fayez al-Sarraj, appealed for help to deal with the deteriorating situation there. His calls came on the heels of warnings by the UN chief that fighting in the Eastern Oil Crescent and elsewhere in the country were already threatening a return to widespread conflict. Now, Antonio Guterres said in a recent report that even though the so-called Islamic State group no longer controls territory in the country, operatives are still carrying out attacks. And the potential for escalation remains due to the many armed groups on the ground with conflicting agendas. The UN-backed unity government has been installed in Tripoli but has not been able to function properly without an endorsement or backing from Libya's parliament in the east in Tobruk. But the UN has maintained that the 2015 peace deal, under which the unity government was formed, remains the only political framework to a solution. The European Union has also expressed continued support for this framework. As violence escalates, the humanitarian situation is deteriorating, and the UN chief said that 1.3 million people are in need of aid in a country where the healthcare system is on the brink of collapse. The UN funding appeal for Libya this year is $151 million, but only 10% of that has been funded. Liling Tan, CGTN, New York.
Well, let's get you more on that story now. I'm joined live from Cairo by CGTN's Yasser Hakim. Yes, of course, as we heard, there are concerns really that Libya could return to a full-scale civil war. What is the latest on the fighting on the ground at the moment? And of course, the appeal by the Libyan government for international assistance.
Yes, concerning on the ground, there has been skirmishes in the last few days. It would calm down for a few hours, and then there will be fighting, and then it calms down again. So it's still ongoing, but not on the verge all the time. There's a lull at this moment, but the reaction to Fayez al-Sarraj's call for the international community to interfere, the reaction has been met with anger from the other side, from the parliament and Khalifa Haftar's army, who say that this call is actually giving the green light for the international parties or other countries to interfere in Libya and create more havoc there. What Fayez Sarraj is saying that he wants political pressure by the international parties on the parliament and the conflicting forces in Libya, whereas the other side, which is the parliament that is against Fayez Sarraj or the Presidential Council, they say that the Presidential Council is not doing much in fighting terrorism. Actually, it's keeping the south of Libya at this moment in the hands of militias, militias that are allied to the Presidential Council but are not legal forces in the country, and they should be disbanded, or at least they would disarm, and if they want to, they can be part of the Libyan army. So there are conflicts on both sides, and the only way is that some kind of party would, or a third party would try to reach an agreement between both, that they sit down and try to find a common ground to work together. They are at the moment at odds on many issues, and each side has its own military group or military army, and they are fighting each other. And this would give room for ISIL and other militants to gain ground again after being controlled in the last year and being under control and have lost a lot, the ISIL and other militants. But now using this chaos, they can flourish again or reassemble themselves and gain control again in the country.
And of course, as you mentioned, that call for assistance from Sarraj is being targeted at the United Nations, at the EU, but also the Arab League. Now, this must put Egypt in a rather difficult situation because they, after all, support General Khalifa Haftar. What is the latest on Cairo's position and their efforts to try and resolve the Libyan crisis?
Yes, Cairo is known to be a supporter of Khalifa Haftar, or they see him as the legal leader of the Libyan army, or should be the Libyan army that represents Libya. But at the same time, Egypt does not discount the other side or the Presidential Council of Fayez Sarraj. They don't say that he's not the legal leader of Libya. They're just saying that, and they have met with Fayez Sarraj. He's been in Cairo this week twice, and also his deputy has been in Cairo this week. And what Egypt is trying to do is trying to get some kind of consensus according to the UN Sukhairat agreement over the point that Khalifa Haftar should be part of the solution, not part of the problem, and that if there would be a coalition government or a new leadership in Libya, Khalifa Haftar could be named as part of this leadership or head of the army as an option. And at the moment, what we can see is that Khalifa Haftar is refusing to work with the military group of Fayez Sarraj, the military army, because he says that this army is not actually an army. It is a group of militias that have been gathered by Fayez Sarraj and the Presidential Council to work under his command, and they should not be seen as the legal army, because they have their own agendas and they have their own leadership, and they have their own policies that they want to get on the ground, which conflicts with the policies of Libya as a country. So it's a bit complicated there, but Cairo is trying to get both sides together and trying to get some kind of an agreement based on the UN Sukhairat deal, so that they can have a coalition leadership that would agree on a government accepted by all sides.
All right, well, thank you very much, Yasser Hakim, live for us there in Cairo.